It all started with a Western. Now, as a way to bookend a year's worth of episodes, we're looking at George Stevens' well-regarded 1953 Western, Shame. Happy one-year anniversary, Debt to Cinema. I'm Stephen Maltmanex.
And I'm Brian Gillis. Like most people, we love going to the theater and catching latest releases. However, sadly, put a big dent in your wallet.
Fortunately, living in the digital age makes the viewing possibilities endless from the comforts of home.
Many of these films that you can see right from your couch, we're ashamed to say we miss, despite labeling ourselves cinephiles.
So join us as one or both of us cross off a title from our list of shame.
It can be an all-time essential classic,
or an underrated piece of cinema that's worth giving a shot.
Hell, it might just be some trashy film we want the other's opinion on. So sit tight and join us as we pay off our debts, $1 at a time.
George Stevens, creator of such masterpieces as Giant and his Academy Award-winning A Place in the Sun, enlarges the scope of the screen with a motion picture whose monumental background is matched by the stature of its moving human drama. Drama that began when a mysterious stranger rode in from out of nowhere to play a decisive role in the lives of these rugged pioneers.
You call me Shane.
You know those movies that are classics, the ones that everyone else loves, and then you kind of just go into them hoping that they'll be great, but then you just end up being sort of underwhelmed by it? Like, I guess for me, it's The Thin Man. For you, it's Jaws. You know, those kind of movies.
So you thought this was pretty lame, too?
What makes you say that?
Just your tone, because I thought it was pretty fucking lame. I understand its legacy. I had to do research right now. I was like, why would this be so revered? Because I've never seen this film. I've never seen anything that Alan Ladd's in. I don't think I've ever seen anything that George Stevens has directed. Jean Arthur, I love her in the Frank Capra movies I've seen her in. And I was like, okay, Jack Palance, there's some good cast here. Really long, really boring, and I've seen this fucking movie before. If you've seen a Western, you've seen this movie before. Gunslinger comes to town, saves the town, leaves the town. Now the town's happy. Great, awesome. And this is a Heaven's Gate, like, ripoff. Even though Heaven's Gate came after.
Even though it's before Heaven's Gate. You know, I mean, there's a lot of variations of this story, a lot of cool ones, like the first Man with No Name flick, like, you know,
or Yojimbo.
A Fistful of Dollars. I mean, that's kind of close to that. It's a variation, though. There's no family or anything.
Yeah, Yojimbo's
The one
pretty
I
close.
enjoyed the most that I can think of that's most recently, it's not a Western, but The Guest. You know,
kind of, even though he's the bad guy, but yeah,
it is,
similar,
but it is that similar concept of, oh, so this stranger comes in, is accepted by this family,
saves the day, except
there's
he
an amazing
case.
bar scene in both of them. I mean, that's the best part of this movie is that bar scene.
The bar scene here is pretty cool, but compared
it's fucking
to
awesome.
even comparing it to The Guest, no,
For different reasons. This is a straight up brawl.
You get the first occurrence where the dude, and it's an amazing line where he's like, "Have some of this, smell like a man," and he pours the whiskey cologne on him, and then when he gets him back, he's like, "Let's get some shots," and that was totally out of The Guest, where he's like, "Here's what the fuck's he get? He gets like a fireball or some weird shot. It was just like Tabasco
Guest,
straight up, just in a shot glass, and he threw that in the guy's eye. Except he, like, you know, Dan Stevens in The Guest is fucking killing people and being awesome.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, but you can't say that wasn't in some way influenced by this. Like, that had to
Same
be.
with Taxi Driver. That same scene here where he's like, "You talking to me?" And he looks around. He's like, "Well, there's no one else here." Like, there's obvious, like, the influence is varied and widespread. And talking about why, you know, this film kind of created the widescreen format too. So it's an important film. But yeah, I almost fell asleep. That's why I'm drinking tea right now. When the funeral happened, it almost killed me. Like, I was about to turn it off. Oh man.
I really, really wanted to like this. Like, right off the bat, that, you know, there's some gorgeous Technicolor shots.
Beautiful.
The score I thought was pretty good, and it was a good way of setting it up. And then for some reason, like, the score specifically became very generic and repetitive. The one note that kept striking me as, like, just really repetitive was, you know, the da-na-na whenever something bad happens or the bad guys come up. Like, that was the one that really just got on my nerves. But
there's so many weird things about this movie.
Like, why do people love it? I get it. Like, why
it's iconic.
The Searchers, like, how
I understand.
There's so many. I am partial
a
to
lot
spaghetti
of
westerns. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, those are the ones I grew up with. Those are the ones I love. I even love High Noon, which is this is the one, the bookend episode. Yeah, but that's not exactly a straight western. You know, something like The Searchers, I can see why people enjoy that, and that is a fun movie. this is so hollow.
This is
Just-
2 hours of boring, generic mush that kind of makes you get emotional, but not really. And
Not at all.
It's like, I can understand if I was young, like if I was a kid at this time, you'd relate to the kid because the Joe Jr. gets a ton of screen time. Like, he gets a lot of reaction shots, lots of cutaways. Every fight scene that happens in this movie, he's involved in some way, even if he's just getting, shown under the bar stools and shit. He's there.
I can see that.
Like,
He
at the
is
funeral-
Jake Lloyd. Like, I did like Phantom Menace as a kid, and I did relate to that Anakin Skywalker.
I think that's
Now,
a
not so
similar.
much.
I think it's a similar
But
thing
yeah.
here. Because if I was a kid,
totally, I can see
could
that.
do it.
I don't think it's Oscar not worthy though. I mean, like,
Well, it didn't win anything, thank God.
no, but I mean, the fact that this kid got nominated for an Oscar, I'm just kind of like,
That's
well,
stupid.
the fact that George Lucas is calling Jake Lloyd one of the greatest actors ever, I don't think he's that crazy now if the Academy is going to recognize this kid. I mean, this kid's not bad, but the writing is doing him no favors because he's expected to say some of the cheesiest, just
come back,
seriously. I mean, like, I don't think his performance is bad.
Shane,
like,
come back.
Yeah, like he's like a kid that genuinely looks up to Shane. Like, right when he first meets Shane, Shane tells him,
it's like,
"Hey,
I get
a guy that looks around, that's going to be someone that makes his mark one day." And to a kid that fucking when an adult
totally
acknowledges
badass,
you
yeah.
like for what you want to be recognized as, holy shit, that's got to be like the greatest feeling in the world. Like, you fucking immediately fall in love with that person. But then just later, scenes like when he's calling his mom, is like, "Mom, I like Dad, but I think I like Shane just as much," which of course he's fucking lying. He thinks that Shane is way better.
No, you
We all
got his
fucking
other
know
way
that.
around. He's like, Shane's the coolest. I fucking love him. I like him almost as much as I like Dad.
Nah, he likes him even more. We know that.
Yeah, it's
Just
fucking weird. Well, his dad is
weird.
real
And then
lame.
just the fucking
Just the
I
way
don't
he's
even-
introduced, and it doesn't help that there's like some crazy ass subtext here. Where and I'm not alone here, right? That somewhere before the movie started, Shane knew Jane Arthur, fucked her, and that's his kid, right? I'm not crazy here.
There's a weird ass love triangle, and like something weird like that. It's implied, but
Big time.
I really am not sure, like, because it's not clear cut. Like, that's the only explanation I can think of, because I want to think that there's a reason why he came to town, or that Shane's trying to redeem himself in some way. But that's probably the best characterization you can get, because if you don't have that, then it's completely fucking hollow.
It has to be there. Like, maybe in the novel, because I know this is adapted from a bestseller novel where Paramount had to get the rights for it. Huge seller, made this movie.
It's got to be,
made a
because
ton of
they
money.
make a big deal that it's this couple's anniversary,
Yeah,
that they've been married
all
for
this
this
shit,
long,
yeah.
and you get all these reaction shots that there's just, it has to imply that.
Yeah, see, I said this kind of helped create the widescreen format. It also apparently was like the first film to use pull cables, like invisible wires on actors when they get shot with guns, so it looks realistic, which Bonnie and Clyde does a lot better. Just the depiction of gun violence there is way cooler. And,
Yeah, but they had enough time to work
it's
on
like
that,
10
so
years
this is a
later.
good starting point.
Yeah, but I know you didn't really care for Heaven's Gate. That film seriously does everything this one does. It's roughly the same running time. It's like 20 minutes longer. And it just, you care about the characters in the town. Like, when they're talking here, like, oh, the Rikers, oh, they're going to kick us off our land. And they have that moment at the cemetery after fucking Stonewall kills himself, basically. And they're like, oh, yeah, let's do it. Let's rebuild. Let's do it. When you get that moment in Heaven's Gate, it is powerful when they're at that roller derby. Like, oh my god, like everyone talking, and they're not even talking in English. They're in whatever fucking language, whatever Slavic
they're all
language.
immigrants.
And it's super powerful when they have that uprising, when they have their battle. Here, it's like, I'm gonna beat you, because I'm gonna save the day. I'm gonna knock you unconscious, and I'm gonna go kill them all, and then I'm gonna leave. Like, it's,
I mean, yeah, as much as I have issues with Heaven's Gate, that is not one of them. And I
Yeah.
do think with you there that at least the town, like just the people in general, those are actual people. These are all really bad cliches.
These are there's no one here. This film seriously needs it has this little sense of this isn't a town yet. It's the frontier. They're like trying to turn civilized. So many times this movie you hear like the law is not 100 miles away. The law is 3 days ride. You're like, oh, okay, I get it. This is the middle of nowhere. Anything goes except nothing goes. And you like even the bad guy here. You get Riker, where he has several moments where he seems very sympathetic. All he wants to do is bring them together, make a community. And instead, it's like, nope, he's bad. Let's bring in
He
Jack
has to be.
Palance wearing the black gloves with the black hat and the black clothes to be the real bad guy, like the agent here. And he's so cool.
Though,
He's so
I
cool
do
in this.
prefer Riker in this, though, compared to, who was it, Tom Skirnett in Heaven's Gate?
It's Tom Waterston from The Newsroom and Law and Order. And
Point is that I think at least here with Riker, I don't necessarily agree with where he's coming from, but I'm
You
far
can
more
understand it.
interested
Yeah,
in
you-
where he's
you-
coming
when-
from. Here's a guy that fought with his land, and he does feel a sense of entitlement. Heaven's Gate, it's just a bunch of rich assholes that are basically
Well, I
just
mean-
going, no, you have to leave.
I-
It's the Donald Trumps of that world.
No, I did some minimal research on this, and apparently it's inspired from the exact same real life event, the Wyoming, whatever the hell it's called. And
Yeah.
except there's no substance here. It's just like
It's one of the few westerns, I think. Like, there's one of three,
Yeah.
including Heaven's Gate, that tackle that subject.
Except it's not tackled here. Instead, it's a singular guy is painted to be bad. There's no outside force. There's no government like veto. There's none of that going on. They didn't have mandate to kill these people, and better yet, only one person dies. You know, like it's not this big to do. Like, oh my god. And the funeral scene sucks too. Like the best thing about that funeral scene is the dog looking in the grave. That and like the baby
Emoted
horse
more than anyone else there.
Yeah, and the baby horse, it looked like it was sucking its dad's dick, but I know it was probably getting milk. But I was like, hey, Freddy got fingered. Totally happened. But yeah, this film is really gorgeous. It starts off, as soon as you see the titles, they're just, they're lush. They're like a red, like almost like sunset hue. And they're up against this background with this beautiful blue sky with these powerful clouds, this mountain ridge. You got cows, you got deers, horse. It's very, very gorgeous. And then the movie starts and it's like, oh, okay. It's like a postcard. You don't want to live in it. You just want to send it to someone.
Mm-hmm.
So sad.
I don't want to like knock on this and say it old-fashioned, but this is like
It's old-fashioned.
It's one of those movies where you just feel old-fashioned in the way where it's like, well, I have to take this seriously to some degree because people were genuinely entertained by this and thought it was great, but
There's like,
I mean, there's old-fashioned that, still resonates, and then there's this, it's just like, I mean, we have the bad guys being established immediately, and then they start bonding with Shane by, what is it, just chopping wood, and you have all this like,
Who even fucking
heroic music
knows?
playing, and he's fucking shirtless and shit, and we're supposed to look at Shane and like him, and I'm just, it's like, this is, I guess, really old-fashioned characterization. Fuck.
there's some like really good lines of dialogue here. There's a
There's
couple of
some-
good scenes, mostly in the bar, like when you have Shane going to the general store, and any of those interactions, they're really good. Almost every time Riker or Jack Palance are on screen, it's good. It's just everything in between isn't. Like Jean Arthur, as much as I love her in her screwball comedies, this is her final movie. It shows. Like, she looks very old here. She's the oldest person, it looks like, at least on screen. Why would she be married to this guy who's like actually the actor was 10 years younger than her? Because as far as I know, in those days, men married young women, not older ones. Why would they be
I don't
having
know,
a kid?
This is like the 50s. It's weird because this feels like a movie that should be an old Hollywood epic of the 30s
Yeah.
instead of the 50s. I mean, it's in the 1:33 ratio too. Like, these are Confederate supporters. Like,
a couple
as
of
far
them,
as I
yeah.
understand
Well, it's like
it, because
I think
they
it's
throw in
just
a bunch
Stonewall.
of Yankee insults.
I think it's just the Stonewall Terry character, the guy that dies in the draw. Everyone, because they make fun of him a lot.
It's
for
funny though, like to see him. What's the actor's name?
Jack Palance.
Alicia Cook Jr. I think. He was in The Killing too.
Oh,
and
that guy.
It's a guy that usually is stuck in these roles where he's always very unconfident and unsure of himself and gets pushed around a lot. And it's just it was a really nice way that I thought that scene was set up, of just like how he's tripping all over puddles of mud and he's very unstable, and it was really, really well set up and really well paid off. Like, just, I mean, even the end of that scene of how everyone's gossiping around and then you have the Swedish guy just dragging his body. I was like, I thought that was really fucking heartbreaking how that happened.
No, because the draw, as soon as it happens, where he's like, you was like Stonewall Jackson. There's a lot of guys named Stonewall, and you're one of them, huh? I heard about you. Like, Stonewall Jackson was a loser. He was a chump, and so was General Lee. And then as soon as, like, what are you going to do about it? He's like, you're a lying Yankee. And as soon as they draw, his gun is only, like, half out of his holster by the time Jack Palance is actually pointing at him.
It's still enough.
It was so...
Like, I mean, what got to me was at the end of how everyone's just talking casually about it as you have this guy dragging his friend out, and no one's helping him, and they're just talking about it like it's nothing. Like, oh, fucking idiot got himself shot.
This movie, just like whatever world it takes place in, this is clearly not the real frontier. Things were not this nice and color booky. This isn't reality. This is like the 50s version of we're in the golden days of America that show you a basically happy-go-lucky cowboy story with like a dash of villainy. Just like a little bit, because you can't handle the real thing. This is for the whole family. This is like Old Yeller, basically, but with a cowboy.
And just not nearly as good as that, or
like
it doesn't really resonate nearly as much as that either.
Like, you get a couple of good lines here, like when Shane is he's talking to Gene Arthur about the gun, and he's like, "A gun is a tool. It's as good or as bad as the man using it." Like that's real powerful. Like that, the NRA could run with that.
I think just that, especially with stuff with Shane, like as far as what's his name again? Alan Ladd.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer Clint Eastwood to the trilogy that he did, but I mean, Alan Ladd, even though I don't think he looks it, he has a decent presence. He definitely has the voice for it, and it's the scene like with him and the kid when he's showing him like, how you draw a gun and talking about the different ways that other people do it. It's like that's actually some of the best stuff in the movie for me.
The kid stuff.
Everything with him, even though that kid can be really fucking annoying.
Everything with him and the kid is really good, where you're like, oh, he's the real father who's coming to town to teach his son how to do it. Like when you get the the first bar fight, the second scene in the bar, where it starts off and you're like, oh dang, Shane can throw down, he's kicking these dudes' ass. Like he has Calloway, who obviously has a bone to pick with, but then out of nowhere, Joe comes in, fucking, what's his last name? I don't even remember, but the dad shows up, he's like, I can fight too, let's do it. And they start throwing down, it's like Eskimo Brothers, the movie, we both fucked the same lady, it's just I don't know it, but you do. Like it was so
I like
bizarre.
how rough that fight is, though. It's not
like a good fight,
Yeah, it's not like anyone in there is obviously a better fighter than the other. Like, if Shane stayed in there alone, he would have gotten his ass kicked.
He was getting his ass kicked. He was held back by one guy. They were all getting dishes in. They were throwing bottles. Like, it seemed like a real fight outside of, the makeup and the way the hits land and the way they sound. But it seemed like a fight. Like, if that was a real ballroom brawl, it would be like that.
It was just a huge breath of life breathed into a movie that was so fucking dull at that point.
It's one action scene. Like, you get the shootout in the bar at the end, but like the whole film, you get so much build up for Shane being such a good gunslinger when he's like, oh, I know him. Guns. You can do it this way. It's up to the waist. You want it to be in between your wrist and your elbow. Like, so much is set up. You're like, okay, well, he's got to be like the best guy with a gun in the world. Clearly, he's not gonna die. He gets shot, and it's like not even an issue. It's like, hey, you're bleeding. Yeah, whatever.
Like, that's the problem with the movie, is that we're kind of just told these things and expected to believe them. Like, I got to go back to this, but at least with the Man with No Name trilogy, like, you watch Clint Eastwood in there, and you understand his motive, or you can believe that he has one, and you see that he's that good. You're introduced to him right off the bat. You know that he's not a guy that you fuck with. This movie, I'm just kind of being told that I should believe that, but I'm not really given a reason why, or I at least don't feel I got a reason why.
You can't really compare those Sergio Leone films or any spaghetti western to this, though, because these are the films that inspired the Italians to make their westerns. They were like, but that's not the way it was. Let's make it. No, that's the thing. They did improve it. Yeah. They went, this isn't how it works. There isn't the hooker with a heart of gold, and this cowboy is going to save the day, and everything is happy-go-lucky and colorful. Like, Jimmy Stewart was a western hero. People forget that. John Wayne, like,
Dusty Rides Again, and Winchester 78.
More than that. It's like those aren't the actual heroes.
Yeah, Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
And also like How the West Is Won and a couple others. Like
he was in that?
Yeah. He's a big part. There's so many fucking people in that movie, but he's a big part of it. And that one, he plays like a frontiersman, not even like an actual cowboy. But he had part of his career, the final leg of his career. Matter of fact, the final film he ever did was voicing Wiley Burp in Five Goes West. So he ended his career with a western. But you can't compare them. Like, though, it's like comparing the superhero movies today to the really shitty ones in the late '80s and early '90s. even the mid 90s.
Well, maybe so, but I mean, as just from a character standpoint, like I think that's the weakness here, though, is I'm just being expected to believe this stuff, and I'm not given a reason why.
No, it's
and I
more than just the characterization.
I think I can at least give a fair example of how it's done right.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like from a
historical perspective.
Yeah, it's
sure.
it's
but
not
I mean,
fair.
it's still okay. But even then, you can look back at other movies from this era, and not even westerns. I mean, hell, I could go back to High Noon, and there is still so much more going on there. That is a town
that's a landmark film, though.
But I mean, like, that's a town, like, character-wise, they're not cliches. Like, those are all people where, I mean, what's fucking amazing about that movie is that you got this one guy, you got this hero, you got all these villagers or town folk that like him, and then on the turn of a dime, they can immediately go against him, and you can understand why within that second.
Well, and it's an actual second too, like on a clock.
Literally.
That matters. So,
Yeah.
you know, if you want to hear us talk about that, listen to Death to Cinema #1. Might not be as good as this, but
Happy 1 year anniversary.
It was the beginning. It was the beginning. Probably the fucking most hokiest weird thing in this movie is at the very end, before the gunfight happens, when the Calloway, the guy that threw whiskey on Alan Ladd and then, you know, got in the fight with him, shows up randomly at his house and goes, I just want to let you know that the deck is stacked against Joe. Don't let him go. And he's like, I've had a change of heart. I'm going to leave now. Good seeing you. And they shake hands. It's like, what? No. Okay, so you picked a fight with this
Not
guy.
only that-
You made fun of him. Then he fucking kicked your ass in front of all your friends. And now, just out of nowhere, without any other conversation that happens, you're just going to show up because one guy died and apologize, basically, and save his
Seriously.
life? Like, no. That would never fucking happen.
It has to promote doing the right thing, or I don't know, whatever fucking messages that Hollywood was trying to put out there. But then it gets even more ridiculous than that. Like the fight between Joe and Shane.
That I was okay
so
with that.
laughably bad.
Like the choreography is not great with the horses
you don't
running
even
away
see
and
it.
shit.
It's shot from the inside of the house where the wife is
Because
just
it's
kind of
about
freaking
the
out and the
kid.
kid's staring at them.
Because it's about the kid. This whole movie
I
is
know,
about
and
the
we
kid.
just see them watching it, and we see like little bit, like it is comical. Like what were they thinking? It's such a badly done fight, and it should be very emotional at that point, but just. Yeah, what the fuck?
Like I said, the best part about that scene is the cows and bulls like trying to escape the pen and the horses running wild. Like you can tell by the way the animals are reacting. Like it seems real because of that. It's very theatrical. But yeah, it's focused on the mom and son doing nothing and fucking crying. Like seeing Jean Arthur cry.
It's not a good way to shoot it. I think
it's
like
not,
it doesn't add anything.
Jean Arthur crying is not effective for me. Like I want her to say really witty things and make me laugh, like tears rolling down her face when she's all old. Nah, it's like the opposite of appealing. The best thing about this film, because this was not on my list of shame, I had no desire to ever watch this. I didn't care if it was on the AFI, won all this shit, started so many things. The reason I got interested was when I found out Jack Palance was in it, and this is like his first film, and I went, awesome, because I haven't seen him in much, and I went, that's Curly from City Slickers before he found the gold. Like, that's what I was excited about.
You know, I mean, yeah, I did want to enjoy this. I like George Stevens. I've seen some of the stuff that he's done with Hepburn and Tracy, and God, what's one of them that's really funny? I think it's Women of the Year.
Wouldn't know.
No, well, there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, it has a real good knack for comedy, but that was back in the 40s. I can't remember the name of the big widescreen epic he did in the 60s that apparently is very slow, very boring, and just doesn't go anywhere.
Sounds
and that's
awesome.
even for it sounds like Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate goes a lot of places, man. I
I
guarantee I'll rewatch that movie in the next 5 years. I know it.
I will try giving it another chance
would
because
like
I
to
really
get-
want to revisit it, and nothing would please me more than revisit movies that didn't hit me the first time and then just all of a sudden enjoying them. Like
I would
love
like
it when
to
that
get
happens.
a 4K like Criterion disc for Heaven's Gate, and
It'll happen one
I'll
day.
skip the first 20 minutes, the part that doesn't matter. I'll skip the first 20 minutes, and I'll skip the last 10. But everything else I really liked. It just fucking gorgeous. Like just when you compare the production design of this film to that film. Now, obviously, it's later. Hollywood had
This
more
is a
money.
Hollywood
It's
film,
a lot,
though.
yeah, it's a lot of tour like stuff. It's new Hollywood, way different, but still kind of similar. If I remember, that was United Artists, not Paramount. But even still, they built a whole fucking town for that movie. They built like a single bar.
No, Heaven's Gate was Titanic, except it didn't have the box office revenue of Titanic.
It should have. It should have.
I don't think so. It's not a movie that's easy to embrace. Like Titanic, it's very easy to get invested in the romance and see how that found a wide audience. But Heaven's Gate, no. It bored me as well as a lot of people.
It's Titanic,
and that wasn't even the version that they saw.
Titanic is James Cameron, man. You can't. He's like the most accomplished blockbuster filmmaker of all time.
He knows how to entertain.
Yeah, he knows how to make everyone like a movie. Period. Like, he doesn't have an audience. The audience is everyone. And when you take a movie like this or Heaven's Gate or anything really, like this is like, though I feel like the only people that watch this now are the people that watch TCM. Like, when it comes up, as soon as this ended, I was expecting Jack Osborne to go, and that was Shane. Next coming up in our Alan Ladd marathon is, like, I seriously expected for that to happen. Instead, it was just Voodoo going, rate your movie. And I was like, I don't really want to. Okay, 3.5 stars. Because this movie's not bad. It's just, it's very generic and borderline boring. And it's just, it's too clean cut. It's the fact that you have one cowboy who shows up wearing all white, and then you have another cowboy later all black. Like, it's like what Jimmy Fallon makes fun of in the studio tour, Universal Studios. I'm Jimmy Fallon, and I'm Jimmy Fallon. Like, just groan-inducing. If I watched this on my, like, if I was in your shoes, if I picked this one, be very disappointed in myself.
I mean, I don't get that disappointed. You know, I'm glad I saw it in the sense, like, I'm glad usually when I get to see any movie, honestly. Like, I'm never pissed off that I've watched something, because at least even if I didn't like something, I can say, well, I've seen that, and I got something out of it, you know? And I mean, I guess for historical reasons, this flick is fascinating, you know, given that it was the first movie converted and projected in widescreen. You know, there's some beautiful vistas, but
gorgeous.
Yeah, like, but this movie is mainly focused on these characters, and these characters just don't have much of anything to them. Like, the plot beats are there, and I see that things are personal, but I never feel that it is. I never feel any of the relationships between these characters, and it just kept me distant, and I was just unable to invest in anything because I couldn't see anybody invested in anything except for the kid being invested in Shane, and I was fucking annoyed just by hanging out with that kid because he's a fucking kid, you know. I don't want to spend an entire movie around that.
Bang, 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 bang!
Oh my god!
Bang! Like, at the end when that started happening,
that was the moment where I was just like, you know what?
Bang!
I'm sorry, movie, but you're not moving at my tempo. It's like I'm watching it and I'm trying to find nice things, but then the second that happened, I was like, I checked out. I was just like, you know what? I know I don't like this movie.
As
much as I want to be nice to it, I just don't like it.
As soon as they dragged the dead body away, they should have dragged me along too. Like, I seriously was about to fall asleep. I had to stop the movie. I rewound it just a little bit. I got up. I ate like a donut. I got some milk. Like, I got some sugar in my system so I could stay at least enthused. Because I had some great moments towards the beginning, like when you first get to the general store, even before that bar scene happens. There's that whole sequence when he goes to the general store, he gets a different change of clothes, where he's like, oh, I haven't got store-made clothes in a while. They don't cost what they used to. And then you see someone pick up, like, a Sears and Roebuck catalog where, like, my dick got hard. I was like, awesome. Because, like, one of my favorite pieces of trivia is those magazines. Like, Sears has existed since forever. It used to just be a catalog where you would order things and they'd be sent to your general store. That was the original form of toilet paper. It's like people in their outhouses would get the Sears and Roebuck catalog for free. They would have, like, Sears, like, 300 pages, like phone book size. They'd read a sheet, flip it over, read it, rip it out, wipe their ass with it. Toilet paper didn't exist yet. And so just seeing one for a brief moment, something that was probably in a museum now, I was like, that was cool. And just everything in that store, the fact that, like, they have the soda pop, which doesn't make sense to me. I don't think soda existed at that time period, but whatever. They had to sell it. That was like product placement in this film. To the, what do I get for...
That's probably a way of appealing kids to the 50s.
Maybe, but it's like, what do I get for the empty bottle? Oh, here's a candy cane. At the time that happened, I was eating a lollipop. So I was like, hey, I'm in the movie now. Like, that whole sequence, everything in the general store is good. Everything outside of it sucks. The love triangle that isn't.
A movie and the best thing you can say about it is, oh, hey, the general store, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That shows that the movie is pretty weak from a story's perspective. Like,
though I said the best thing about Heaven's Gate was a roller disco scene. So
yeah, but that goes on long enough that is an actual sequence. That
like
is,
a legitimate,
that is a
like,
scene about the town,
sequence.
and the town itself is a character. I mean, you know what? Granted, though, that general store, that is a location that we keep coming back to. So I guess you could say, in a sense, it is a character.
Yeah.
I mean, that is basically the center of the town where everybody gets together, regardless of whether you're on Riker's side or you're just one of the ranchers that is out there. But, God, yeah, this movie, it's a bunch of badly executed cliches, I guess, and they're just there because it feels like, it doesn't feel like a human script. It feels like there's a list of screenplay algorithms that go through the computer, and they're like, okay, this is the emotional beat that you have to hit a human, but I just never ever feel like I'm organically just attached to these characters. And this may be a classic, but it's just one of those that I'm sad to say just doesn't resonate with me, and I cannot buy it for $1.
Hashtag
I cannot even recommend it.
Not my classic. I can recommend this to people that watch TCM that, if they dig westerns that are fucking candy-assed and boring.
If I got into a conversation with my grandfather and he'll be like, oh yeah, Shane, I like Shane, I'll nod my head and I'll smile and I'll be like, yeah, it's cool that you like that.
I've seen that one. You're like,
yeah, and then I'll just start getting around and talking about, oh fuck, I don't know, The Searchers or something else.
I didn't dig The Searchers. I didn't like how racist it was, basically.
I've grown to appreciate The Searchers
more
the whole,
like, I have to rewatch it. I saw it in a class, so it was like fragmented, but I just remember, I was like, I don't like the Duke, and then I offended my professor, and they're like, don't talk about the Duke. Oh, no. The Searchers, I didn't say that. I said that for True Grit, because I saw the original True Grit after I saw the remake, and I was like, I don't dig it, and I was like, I like the new one better. He's like, and the professor seriously got mad. He's like, never talk bad about the Duke. I was like, calm the fuck down, dude. Like, he's dead, and his name was Marion, and he has an airport named after him, and he was, as far as I can tell, a fucking asshole. So, I can say what I want to say about him. He wasn't a good actor. He was just, he had a good look, and he had a stern voice, and he talked like this. I fucking hate the John Wayne so much. The best thing about John Wayne is that he's in Preacher, but he's not on the Preacher TV show. He's only in the comics. They're not going to be able to do that on the show.
I'll take your word for it. John Wayne is hit and miss, but he's very one note. It's a good note, though. Sometimes it plays well.
Liberty Valance, good note. It's a good note there because he's going against type. He's actually playing a nice guy, and he doesn't take the fame.
Well, no, that's the thing. In Searchers, he does play against type. He plays an asshole.
Yeah,
he seems like he's full-on racist.
He's an asshole in a couple of things. Thanks for listening. We hope it's been a pleasure. If you like this show and you want to hear more of our wonderful voices on a weekly basis, check out 2 Cents. I'll recap what's happened in film, TV, and tech news.
We're also on the titular Dollar Review Show, a spoiler-free critique of new releases or anything we've discovered on our own, whether that be TV, music, etc.
You can find all of our content at dollarreviews.net. Follow us on Twitter or like us on Facebook at Dollar Reviews.
And we're also on Google Play Music, iTunes, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, just about anywhere on the internet with hours of content available to you for free. But for those of you that feel that the show is worth your dollar, you can send us a donation at patreon.com/dollarreviews. Contributions not only earn our undying love, but they also make it possible for us to improve our recording equipment and to give you the highest quality episodes possible. But more importantly, they'd be helping us acquire the content to review. Trips to the multiplex are expensive, and the more donations we receive, the more films we can review for your listening pleasure.
If you listen somewhere we're currently not available, you'd like to contribute some talking points, send a Death to Cinema request, or if you just want to laugh at us, you can do so by reaching out to us on social media or send an email to brian@dollarreviews.net.
Or you can email me as well, steve@dollarreviews.net.
You can follow me personally on Twitter at Brian Gillis, that's BRYONGILLIS, and now you know how to spell the email too, and also under the same name on the lovely site Letterboxd, which acts as my film diary, where I rate films I'm watching, write the occasional review, and even sometimes compile lists.
You can also find me on Twitter at S_MTX, and also follow my film diary at Letterboxd under the same name, where I log everything I watch, and sometimes write brief reviews.
That's it for this week. Until next time, keep the change.